Okay, perfect. So what I want to tell you is that Ichimoku for me is one of the best indicators, right? So I have used it, although it can be complex. If you're gonna break it down, and how I'm gonna break it down, and you're gonna have the basics and understand the mechanics, it can be actually very easy and nice to apply for different strategies. Now, it's very important to understand that with Ichimoku, you can find potential full pictures and also supports and also resistances. And more than this, you can have very accurate entries and exits. You can use it for different ways. We can use it for trend following, like I'm using most of the times, or you can combine it. And after you go on a top-down analysis from weekly to daily, after that for 4 hours and 1 hour, you can even have some very nice entries and even exits, okay? So let's break it down. On Ichimoku, we're going to have 5 lines, all right? The conversion line, it has, or this is the conversion. Let's just watch it on Ichimoku. Okay, settings, good. The conversion line, right? So the red line, it has the default settings of 9 period. And this is a moving average of the highest high and the lowest low of a specific period of time. Default is 9. It can act, very important, it can act as a most of the time as a leading indicator, but also as a lagging indicator. That's why you have to combine it with price action. That's why you have to combine it all the other lines. For example, when the price crosses above the Kijun-sen, it might indicate a potential uptrend. And this can act as a leading signal when the value of it, and because it's based on price past the data, it can also think, you can also think that is lagging. So it aggregates past the data of 9 periods of time, right? But because we can have the price over or under it, it can also show a potential trend forming. Where you can find the Ichimoku settings, I can give you the inputs from here. Okay, everybody, you can write them: the conversion line, baseline, leading span, displacements. These are my defaults. I don't do anything else, by the way. I didn't change anything. Okay, these are my settings: 9, 26, 52. These are the default ones. This is what I'm using. You see here, I mean, your notes. Can you see, guys? By the way, everybody else, when I clicked the, oh, okay, perfect. But I think this is default. If you're gonna go and if you're gonna click settings and inputs, you're gonna see that these are the default ones. I don't use anything else. Okay, good. So this is the conversion line. This is the conversion line or the Tenkan-sen. You can call it however. For me, it's much easier to call it the Tenkan-sen, but you can call it baseline if it's too much of a mouthful. Okay, the next one. Let's go back. Go back on it actually. Style is the baseline or the blue line. All right. Is the default setting for this is the 26 period, the Kijun-sen or the baseline. This is similar to Tenkan-sen, but it's also a moving average and it's calculated over a longer period of time. Often, most of the time, as you saw, it's a 26 period it's calculated with the 26 periods going backwards. Like the Tenkan-sen, it can also provide leading and lagging signals depending on how it's going to interact with the price, plus the other components of Ichimoku. Okay. The 2 lines of the cloud, we're going to have the span A and the span B, or the cloud, or Kumo. In Japanese, cloud is called Kumo, and it's formed, right, between between the 2 areas, between the span A and the span B. This is the Kumo. This is a bullish Kumo or a bullish cloud. This is a bearish Kumo or a bearish cloud. Cool. Okay. Now, I don't want to go too much in the technical details because I want to go and explain to you how we're going to use them. And the most important part on this, it's again, please don't forget that this is just an indicator, and although it can show potential trend, still I will recommend heavily relying on price action. I will rely on price action, and I will rely on Ichimoku also overlapping it above on support and resistances. So if I would start with something, I would start with supports and resistances. And I would, for example, I would see which are my main areas. I would remove those, I would click, right click, and I would right click and remove drawings. And I would add this just to find the trend. And after that, I would put back my support and resistances just to have even more confirmation. After I start from, for example, let's start on weekly with the Ichimoku. Just check on my trading view, and I don't know how you added 2 colors for plots background. I only have 1. You mean for the full background? I can tell you how. You mean for this, Stefan? Background, gradient. This is it. You don't need anything else. Do I? But this should be the max. I mean, and from here you can do whatever you want with this, you know. These are the settings, by the way. These are just the settings, not 2 options. I have no idea. Maybe because it's of the plan which I have on TradingView, but I cannot answer this. Okay, shifters. What we're gonna do is that when you use Ichimoku, it can show the trend direction and confluence for your basic supports and resistance levels, and it can help us identify this kind of trend shifts. For example, this is what I was telling you, shifters, and I was speaking to Marianne. This kind of moves, right? So this is what we want to see also on ETH-BTC, and it can show us when we have a trend shift or a trend reversal. So it can easily make us flip from bearish to bullish, from bullish to bearish, and also on sometimes to just be neutral because we're gonna have a ranging market. Now, what we're gonna start with, I want to start with the Kumo, and we're gonna move on to the other components of the Ichimoku. First, we're gonna start with the color of the Kumo. Okay, as you can see from here, for example, on this one, the color, it was very important. I'm gonna start with the bearish one. The red one is bearish, and I'm gonna try to. No, I just have the simple one, Ichimoku. Maybe you have other versions of Ichimoku, but I would advise you to use the most simplest one. I'm not gonna stay so much on the span A and the span B. I'm just gonna let you know what are the scenarios when we're gonna move from bullish to bearish or maybe to sideways markets. Okay, the red one, right? The red one is the bearish one. The green one, very simple to understand, is the bullish Kumo. Another important aspect of each trend following is gonna be the width, right, or the thickness of the thickness of the Kumo, and this is very important. The thicker is the Kumo, the stronger is the trend, and the opposite. The thinner is the Kumo, it indicates a weaker trend. So we don't have such a strong trend developing, and we can see, for example, from here. Look at this here. Here we had the bullish trend. It formed the bullish trend, and the price was very, very far from this. And when it flipped, and we're gonna speak about the crossovers, we had also thick Kumo, and we had a very bearish trend. Okay. So we have to think about the color. You also have to think about the width or the thickness of the Kumo. The thicker it is, the stronger is the trend. The thinner it is, the weaker is that trend in which we found ourselves. This means that if it's thick, it's going to be much harder for it to invalidate, and most likely we're going to continue on the direction of that Kumo, right? We're going to continue in that direction for some time, especially if you're in a higher time frame. The thinner it is, it's much more likely that we're going to reverse, or we can invalidate, or we can go sideways, or we can stay in a period where we're not going to have a clear direction. So what do you want to see? First of all, you want to see the breakouts. For example, like we had them here. We had the bearish crossover when Tenkan-sen, the conversion line, went under the Kijun-sen, meaning the baseline. And after that, the price pierced through the Kumo. I would not do anything here. What I would attack on this is, if I want to be more aggressive, I would wait for the price to head over, and I wait also for the baseline and also for the conversion line to break down from the Kumo. When after they did this, if I want to be conservative, I can also wait for the lagging span. Okay, so I can also wait for the lagging span to show me that we have the final confirmation from here. This was very, very, very bearish up until, I would say, and mind you that the Chikungunya span is the lagging span. You're always going to see it lagging behind the price. We're going to speak also about the lagging span very soon. However, like I was telling to Marianne and to everybody else earlier, when we have the price far from the Kumo, it indicates that the trend is still very, very strong. And that's why if you're gonna, when we're gonna go back to ETH BTC, I was telling Marianne that we still don't have this, right? We don't have the crossover. When the conversion line, right? So the Tenkan Sen is gonna go above the baseline, above the Kijun Sen, we're gonna have the bullish crossover. And what do you want to see? Well, you want to see that it breaks above this, and after that, it continues above this, and we also have the Chiku span. Now, I would say that the trend already, it was very powerful, right? So up until here, the trend was very powerful. Look, it was very powerful because it was also far from the Kumo, and the price was far from the Kumo, and it was above the conversion line, the baseline. And look at the width, right? Look how thick it was, the Kumo. But what happened since? We can see that the trend was not so powerful going forward. Let me show you. Let's put it on 10 speed. Look what happens when the price enters already the Kumo. Here is not anymore a clear direction, okay? Now the price went above the Kumo, but even if the price went above the Kumo, can you notice the difference in the Kumo formation, right? Between this, when we had the break here, and it was such a powerful trend, and look how this looks. For now, this does not look so bullish. Yes, it's still bullish, but I would rather be in a bullish trend where I have the Kumo formation like this, rather to be in something like this, because look, it was kind of mixed here, right? So it was bearish, bullish, bearish, bullish. Yes, he said it looks bottomish, but we didn't have it bottom. That's why I was telling you on Ethereum that it does not look bottom. Ethereum right now is here. Let me show you where is Ethereum on the replay. Ethereum right now is here. Not even there. Not it's even more backwards. Ethereum right now is somewhere here. This is where it is Ethereum. This is how Ethereum looks right now. So in order for Ethereum to have that kind of bottom, like I was telling you, we need to see that crossover, right? So maybe it's going to do another leg lower. And after that, we need to see the conversion line bottoming. But for now, the direction is this. And after, we need the conversion line to have this crossover. This is going to be the first sign that maybe we're going to have the bottom, okay? That's going to be the first sign when when the conversion line, the Tenkan Sen is going to go above the baseline, above the Kijun Sen. And on that crossover, we can see that the sellers are going to be exhausted. This looks like seller exhaustion. And here we have the confirmation. And this confirmation was actually true. So around 0.96. And what did the price do? It confirmed that this was going bullish, okay? Where was the confirmation for me? I'm going to show you right now. Not there, still not there. Here it was the confirmation, okay? This was the confirmation, actually just from Ichimoku on weekly, that the trend changed. If you wanted to be even more conservative, like I said, but this takes a lot of time, and this is ultra conservative. And when you have this, you have to be very aggressive to go in and out, because at that point in time, the trend might already reverse, okay? You're still going to have some time. But you see Chiku span, okay, so the lagging span was still inside the body of the Kumo. So it was not the full confirmation. That is the last confirmation that the trend has changed. Not yet. Here. So here, on the 2nd of January, 2023, we had the confirmation that the dominant trend was bullish on euro dollar, okay? So on the next pullback, when you had the next pullback, for example, here, when we go above the Kumo, so when we went above the Kumo, somewhere around this area, around 0.8, you could have been very, very aggressive. That's why, again, what I'm saying, that you need also, besides this, but this is higher time frame, and we're going to see how the strategy goes, you also need support and resistances. I'm not going to rely only on Ichimoku, because already here or around this area, I would have already placed my entries. I'll look for confirmations. I'll see that the trend is still it's bullish above, for example, I think it was 1.0775, and from weekly I would go down to daily. But let's just move forward from the Kumo. Okay, so we spoke about the thickness of this. What is the next one? The next element that I want to talk about this are the tops and the bottoms of the Kumo, which can be viewed as support and resistances. But for this, I'm gonna go on daily so we can see it a little bit much more clearer. Let's see where we have this kind of supports and resistances on. Here is one of very good example. Here it acted as resistance. Here for several times it acted as resistance. And after that, when we broke above it, we just cleared it. So when it breaks through these resistances, or here, for example, it was support. We broke above it, it acted as support. It was still support. When we went underneath it, it acted as resistance. So the edges, right? The limits of the Kumos can be also viewed as support or either resistances. Let's see here if it was an instance of a support. Here in this area, so you could have overlapped it to 0.075, right? So here it was a support, right? You could have overlapped it to the areas that I was giving you constantly for euro dollar, and above 0.075, look what we had. Here, Marianne, again, look how beautiful this looks. So we had a very bearish trend on daily on this. We had the TK crossover here. So we had the Kijun, we had the Tenkan Sen going above the Kijun Sen, right? Conversion above the baseline. And after that, we had the price which pierced the Kumo, right? So this was a heavy bearish trend, as you can see, the thickness of this. But after that was already going from red to green. The price pierced through this. We had the conversion line, we had the baseline, and somewhere around this area, when we already have this, okay, maybe you don't catch this breakout, but at the next retest, or even above it, right? So you have the break, the retest, and the continuation around 0.875, you could have already pulled the trigger, and again on the next retest, and again on the next retest. Now, this is when I would say that the support and resistances and also the levels come in play, because from here, if you remember, from 1.10 down to 1.07, I was bearish in this area because of support and resistances, and because I rely heavily on price action. However, look what the trend says. The trend says, and also Ichimoku says, that still the dominant trend was higher. And if I look at this, this was the correct approach, because the dominant trend was still higher. So we still had that higher high and higher low type of price action on higher time frames, right? So again, we can follow this strategy on Ichimoku, and we can follow the trend, and we are still far from the Kumo. We're far from the Kumo, and we had a nice reaction from the buyers. The reaction from the buyers, and this is where we are today. In my opinion, euro dollar still looks very good, still looks very bullish, but let's go back to Ichimoku and to explain the next elements. So about the price, if the price is above the Kumo, the trend is bullish, while if the price is under the Kumo, the trend is bearish. The formation of the bullish and the bearish trend always starts with the breakout. So let me show you exactly. Now, besides the TK crossover, so the Kijun Sen, the Tenkan Sen with the Kijun Sen, so you can see the conversion line went under the baseline, right? So this was the first sign that we might flip. What do we need to see? We need the price under the Kumo. We had the price under the Kumo. We had the Kumo to flip. You see this flip from green to red. And we also needed to see the Tenkan Sen and the Kijun Sen going lower. We had the break. We had a very nice retest. And after that, you have the continuation. And since this breakout, right? Since here, because this is break and retest, okay? From here, how many pips this is? What type of move is this? Okay, maybe you don't catch all this move, but from 1.096 to 1.05, that's what, 560 pips? That's a very nice trend to be in. Like a 560 pips trend, if you follow it correctly, and I'm gonna show you in the end of this explanation how you can go from top down and how you can make your analysis from daily to 4 hours and for 1 hour in order to have that, in order to have your entry, you'll see how interesting the whole Ichimoku can be applied, okay? Good, so we spoke about this. Okay, now we had the breakout. So we said that every trend, like we see, starts with the breakout. We had the breakout, the trend continue lower. We had the breakout, the trend continues higher. When the price is inside the Kumo, I'm not gonna do anything, okay? Usually those periods of time are sideways, or you don't have a clear direction, or you just need to see what's happening. For example, like it was here. Somewhere around this area, there was no clear direction. Either here, okay, we broke lower, but we didn't have continuation. Here, by the way, it's a very nice confirmation, or you can very nice watch it. Because the price or the conversion line goes again above. Let's say you had the intersection, okay? Let's say you had the TK crossover. So the conversion line went up under the baseline. But after that, you can see that the conversion line again goes above it. So here in this area, there was no trend. There was no anything. But because of this crossover, you could have followed it on daily, and you can see that the conversion line goes above the baseline, and you have the break and you have the retest. And again, this, let me remove the chicken spawn because it can be quite heavy for the eyes. That's the last one. That's the most conservative approach on that. Okay, so you could have followed this, but what did we talk about before we touched the conversion line and the baseline? We just said that in order for us to have a strong trend, yes, but this is not Ichimoku does not help you for accumulation periods, okay, or for sideways periods. Ichimoku, what I found that it helps me is to see when we have a trend change and how we can follow better that trend. This is what Ichimoku actually, this is where Ichimoku shines, where you can stay away from this kind of markets where they go sideways. For example, from here to here, from here to here in this region, it just tells you on euro dollar. So since March 2023 up until August 2023, Ichimoku just tells you to stay away because you don't have any clear trend. Okay, this is where the clear trend starts. You have the TK crossover, right? So the conversion line goes under the baseline. After this, the price goes under this. So this is the number one confirmation, one. After that, conversion line goes after it, goes under the Kumo, 2. Baseline goes under it, 3. And after that, you're also going to have the Chiku span. But this is not my style. I don't wait for the Chiku span. I'm just waiting for these confirmations, okay? Now, break, we have the retest. You could have already placed a short. If you think about it, you could have already placed a short on the continuation, even somewhere like this, and you could have continued with your 1 to 2 to wherever you wanted. We're going to speak about this. But this is how you should have approached it. For example, this is a resistance. If you pull the trigger somewhere on the continuation anywhere here and you put your stop loss above that resistance, that the price would have had a very hard time to come to your stop loss. Okay, we're gonna see about that to the end of this explanation. But where Ichimoku shines is where we have this kind of crossovers from daily. This is where I find it the most efficient from daily. Actually, you watch it from weekly to see what is the dominant trend. But on weekly, from here already, we would already start a bearish trend. After that, I go back on daily, and it shines, like I said, because I have a trend which I can follow. For how much time this trend was exactly like this? I'm gonna put it from here. So when this trend started, let's say it started here, and I could have followed this trend, I would say up until the crossover. So when we had the crossover, so you had the trend for 54 days. You had a very nice defined bearish trend, right? After this, what this can tell you, so if you follow this crossover, now because you have the crossover but to the opposite side, you can wait until you have the breakout. So a trend starts with the breakout. So what did we have? We had the break, and now we had the retest. You overlay with your support and resistances, and you could have already started buying. Here, you can see that already the conversion line goes lower, but the trend, the Kumo, is telling you that we are in a bullish move. And we were in a bullish move. If you remember, we spoke about this, right? So we had higher highs and higher lows, higher highs and higher lows. So since November, we were talking about the bullishness of the potential bullishness of euro against the dollar, or the topping on the dollar. But I was just waiting for confirmation. If you remember, under 104.5. Regardless, let's just go back to this. TK crossover, price breaks above this, and we start to print a bullish Kumo, correct? We have the conversion line which goes higher, and we have the baseline which also goes higher. We're in a clear bullish trend. And even now, that's why I was speaking to Dan and I was speaking to other shifters, I would not short euro dollar because the dominant trend is bullish. From the market structure, which you can have it from here, you can count it from here. You can have a low, high, higher low, higher high, and another higher low here. So I would not short this right now, because at any point in time this can rip higher, where I would short it on this kind of trend, not on this kind of trend. But let's move on. So like I said, when the price moves inside the Kumo, I would wait. When it breaks out, or when it breaks down like this is when you're gonna have a trend form, and after that you're gonna have a clear direction. But now let's add the other elements, like the conversion line and the baseline. If these two are under the Kumo, it means that we are in a bearish trend. If they are above the Kumo, it means that now we're in a bullish trend. So I will add the last element of confirmation. And this is very conservative approach, like I said. And if you're going to wait for this, for the lagging span to cross above the Kumo, let's add the lagging span to cross above the Kumo. You're not going to have so much of the trend to follow on daily, but you're going to have a more conservative approach. So if the lagging span is under the Kumo, this is bearish. If the lagging span is above the Kumo, this is bullish. Okay, and you're gonna have 100% more confirmation. I don't want to say 100% because at any point in time the price can change, etc. But you're gonna have a bigger confirmation that the trend change. You're gonna have the last confirmation that the trend change when the price went under conversion line, baseline plus the Chiku span, meaning the lagging span. Okay. Now let's talk one more time about crossovers, or how we call it in technical analysis, TK crossovers. The Tenkan-sen, so the conversion line, versus the Kijun-sen, the baseline crossovers, or the Tenkan-Kijun crossovers or TK crossovers are another element of trend strength. Okay, when the Tenkan-sen crosses above, like we have it here, the Kijun-sen, right? So when the Tenkan-sen crosses above the baseline, this is a bullish signal. Okay, this is the formation of a bullish trend. If you're more conservative and if you're more aggressive, for example, you can start already from the crossover, and from here, this is the first confirmation that we start the bullish trend. Although I don't agree with this, because we can have fake signals. This is already a confirmation at that point in time, looking also how the market structure is looking. For example, here it was a low, and we had a series of higher lows, okay, maybe even higher highs, low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, okay? But you can be conservative and you can wait fully for to apply the Ichimoku, because right here, as you can see, we were still under the Kumo. So the trend was still, and also the thickness of the Kumo was quite wide. So you don't want, I would stay away from this. Actually, I would wait for the full confirmation. If you're more aggressive, you can start with the fourth or the third of your position already from when you have the crossover. But I would wait for the breakout, maybe for even a retest or a pullback. If the price is above the conversion line, like it was here, and also above the baseline, you can already set up your supports and resistances, and you can start trading. You go from daily to 4 hours and for 1 hour. In the same time, when we have the Tenkan-sen going under the Tenkan going under the Kijun, so the conversion under the baseline, this is called a bearish Tenkan crossover. Okay, so what do you want to see? You want to see that already from here the price goes under the Kumo. From green, the Kumo turns into red. You want to see a wide Kumo. You want to see, for example, here, like we had the break, retest, and after that continuation, and the price was very nicely under the baseline and also under the conversion line. Good. Now, another important aspect, and I want to, so let's remove the conversion line, also this. Another important aspect, it's the distance of the price between the baseline. Okay, so how far is the price moving away from the baseline? Because at some point in time, if the price moves too far from the baseline, okay, this is going to act as a magnet. That's why, if you remember, I was talking about this from EGLD Trader, and at some point in time, I was mentioning when we first started, I was said, listen, the price is going to go to this. The price is going to go to this because it acts like a magnet. This is one of the characteristics. This is one of the elements of the baseline. So as you can see here, the price was going away from the baseline, attracted, okay? Away, attracted. And the same thing here, the price moved too far from this. Look, when the price moved too far from the baseline, immediately attracted. The price moved too far from the baseline, immediately attracted. So right now, yes, we are still in a bullish trend, but every time when you see that the price goes too much from the baseline, okay, here, for example, it was too much to the downside, right? As you can see, even here, right? And after that, it was attracted. Here, too much, it was attracted to the, and even on these bounces, we were far, bounced back, far, bounce back, far, bounce back, far, bounce back, okay? That's why it's called the baseline, if you want to call it like that. Correct, Scriptor. So either if you're in a bearish trend or in an uptrend, whenever the price on daily, for example, deviates too much from the baseline, please keep in mind that this can act as a magnet, and at some point in time is going to retrace back to that. So how would I apply this, for example, in crypto? If I'm trading on spot and I want to have some allocations, hopefully I also have an asset which allows me to have a nice detailed analysis. I go on weekly, I see which is the trend. Let's say I have a bullish trend, for example, how is now an injective, right? You know what? Let's stop the share screen on this. Maybe on injective looks good. It does. So this is how would I approach it. Let's say the price was here. And I didn't have my entry, right? What I just said, that the price, when the price is too far from the baseline, how would I approach this? Let me open the chat so I can talk to you shifters. When the price is too far from the baseline, I was like, okay, I didn't have an entry. I didn't buy at 28. I don't want to buy at 43. I just want for the price to retrace. So what you can do based on what Mr. Spread says, like, okay, if the price went too far from the baseline, at some point in time, the price is gonna act, the baseline is gonna act as a magnet. So we had a very nice retrace from 45 towards 31. Is it a better entry? Well, for sure it is, right? So you just had the 30% discount. Of course, you don't know exactly where it's going to be, but you can track it day by day, and you can put your orders maybe just a little bit higher than that on daily in order to get your orders filled, because this was a week. As you can see here, this didn't touch the baseline, right? So it came close to it, but it was not also that far, correct? So it was not that far like it was here. In percentages, how far it was here. In percentages, this was a 28% deviation. In percentages, this was like a 50% deviation from the baseline. So what you can do using Ichimoku, you can watch this kind of deviations from the baseline, and you can think about it. Okay, this is gonna attract the price. I'm not gonna chase this. We're talking about bullish and spot allocations. I just want for a retrace, and here you could have added. Okay, let's say you wouldn't catch it on this retrace, but you would. Okay, and you wouldn't buy at 31, but you would buy at 34. But why would you buy at 34? Because like Mr. Spread was explaining in his full Ichimoku tutorial AMA, he was saying, okay, so what do I need to see? I need to see that the price is above the Kumo. I need to see that Kinjun-sen and Tenkan-sen, we had some, we had the breakout. Also the Chikun span was above it. For example, look how strong was the trend here, right? So the trend was super strong up until here because of the width, right? So because of the thickness of the Kumo. Now, the same thing I think is going to happen here. The trend was not so strong. Look, the trend, the Kumo was very thin. And that's why I think we had maybe a distribution, and maybe that's why we didn't have such a strong move higher. However, I think that we have a chance right now, because the trend is still very bullish, that this can develop into a very nice thick trend and maybe going higher. And that's why I see injective going much higher from here. Okay, as long as the price stays like here. If this turns lower like this, I'm not going to add anything. For example, maybe it can happen, although I doubt it right now, the conversion line, right? So the Tenkan-sen can cross over the baseline, so it can cross under, so it can go cross under, sorry, it can cross under this, under the baseline, and maybe the price is also going to go like this, who knows, and we're going to have some periods of sideways. But this is bullish right now. If I apply fully on this is bullish. The price is above the conversion. So this, we're going to speak about supports and resistance one more time, because I want to reevaluate everything so you can understand the power of each of them. If you don't trade with anything else, if you don't trade support and resistance levels, which I don't agree with, which I don't advise, but you can use just the conversion line, the baseline, the span A and the span B as support or other resistances. Okay, the first and the weakest support is the conversion line. The second, a little bit stronger support on a bullish trend is the baseline. The more stronger support is going to be the span A, and the very strong support is going to be span B. So that's why if the price is going to go under these two and is going to go under the conversion line, is going to go under the baseline, is going to go under the span A and under the span B after that, most likely is going to go under the Kumo, and we're going to have a reversal. You can try an algo. Yes, we will. But let's finish on this. Okay, so we said the next important factor, it was the distance between the baseline and the price. Okay. You know what? Let's just stay on injective for now. The conversion line. So let's go on Ichimoku. I don't. Okay, we went on injective just to show. I want to go back on euro dollar because this is what we started with. And we're going to speak about the conversion line, which is the momentum line. Okay. Now, the conversion line, let me put out the chart. Maybe you shifters ask me something. The conversion line is more sensitive to quick price movement, and it represents the momentum of the market. If we have a bullish momentum, the price is going to be above the conversion line. While for a bearish momentum, the price is going to be under the conversion line. So if I look right now at euro dollar, I see that the conversion line is going lower and the price is going higher, which might mean that we're going to have a different price structure from now. But for me, for example, if I would go long based just on this, yes, I still like this, but I want to see also the conversion line being under the price to have a more bullish momentum. Lagging span, sorry. This is the last one. Like I said, I don't use it. I just use it for higher time frame trends, and I use it just as a final confirmation. Okay. Let me remove the other two, which this is it. This is the lagging span, the last part or the last piece of the puzzle. The lagging span with the baseline. This was another type of strategy. Okay. If the lagging span is under the baseline, okay, as we can have it right here, the trend is bearish. So as you can see, the lagging span is under the baseline. The trend is bearish. When the lagging span is above the baseline, the trend is bullish. Okay. So for now, the momentum of euro dollar is not so strong, but the trend is still bullish. And it's actually, you can have a double confirmation or a triple or another confirmation because the lagging span is above the baseline. As you can see here, it was under, the trend was bullish, and the trend flipped also here. You can also have the TK crossover. This is another crossover that maybe you can use in your analysis or to depict the exhaustion of the sellers or the exhaustion of the buyers. For now, the trend on euro dollar is still bullish on daily, and we have another confirmation with the lagging span above the baseline. So now let's add everything here and recap it as a simplification, okay? For an uptrend, we have three elements, right? We have the Kumo, we have the conversion line, and the baseline. Let me remove the lagging span because I'm not using it fully. Kumo needs to be thick and green, okay? So this is going to be the first one for the bullish trend. And the price needs to be above the Kumo, and the conversion line, considering everything you explained, BTC is ticked all boxes and it's 100% bullish. I'm not surprised. Thank you for that, Mafia. So for this, what do we need? We need the price to be above the Kumo. We need the price to be above the conversion line, above the baseline. We have it above the Kumo. We have it above the baseline, but we don't have it above the conversion line, which I think also for your dollar can change. Maybe with some fundamental news on the CPI, we can still have it above. So we have 2 out of 3, which is not bad. The Kumo needs to be thick and green. Is it thick? Is it green? It is. And the conversion line needs to be above the baseline. Is the conversion line above the baseline? It is. So for now, what do we have? We have bullish signs for euro dollar from Ichimoku. For the downtrend, what do we need? Exactly like we had here. We need the price to be under the Kumo, like we had here. We need the price to be under the conversion line. We had it. And for example, look how bearish it was here. The price was under the Kumo. We had the price, we had the Kumo thick and red, like we have it here. So the price was under the Kumo, was under the conversion line, for example, here under this level, 1.0875. You remember under 1.0875, you could have been very bearish. Also with my supports and resistances without the Ichimoku. Under the Kumo being red and thick and going lower, obviously, the price under the baseline, the price under the conversion line, and also the conversion line being under the baseline. So very bearish, okay? Now, support and resistances for Ichimoku. The bottom of the Kumo, let's watch it from here. We're gonna take it from the strongest to the weakest, okay? This is gonna be the strongest support. So if the price by any chance of euro dollar is gonna go here, okay, is going to touch this area, this is going to be the strongest support. But up until there, we're going to have this support, and we're going to have the baseline and the conversion line. As you can see, the conversion line, it was the weakest support. The price pierced through it very easily. What happened with the price when it touched the baseline? As you can see, it offers support, right? Not very hard to understand. The next area of support is going to be this one. So weakest support, not so weak, a little bit stronger support, very strong support. That's why when we're going to see the price also losing the baseline, it's going to be maybe some momentum shifting, and you want the price, if it's going to reach the flat top from here, you want the price to go higher, okay? Now, as for resistances, the first and very weak resistance is going to be, this is not a good example because it is not touching this. Okay, it's not touching. When it's touching, it's just piercing through it. However, it's the same, but on the opposite way. The first hard resistance is going to be the conversion line. As you can see, it pierced through the conversion line, but where it reached the baseline, and after that, it just dumped lower. As you can see, you can even trade on this. You can call it the first resistance, okay, the weakest resistance. Every time when it touches this, you open a position with the third of your size, thinking that it can be easily invalidated, and you put your stop loss above the baseline, okay, when you start shorting. As you can see, you could have in a very nice strategy on daily, for example, right? Now, when the price already goes above this, it flipped your conversion line in your baseline because of the TK crossover, which was a bullish crossover. It already flipped your baseline and your conversion line to support. Okay, from this, I would not short it anymore. But weak support, weak resistance, not so weak resistance. Okay, so a little bit stronger resistance, very strong resistance. The last resistance, when it pierces through this, you have a full trend change. If the price is inside the Ichimoku, for let's take an example from here. If the price is inside the Ichimoku, so for example, from here to here, in this, from when it pierced inside it, from 21st of February, I would say even up to here until the 24th of March, here we had a range. The price didn't have any direction. So I wouldn't have traded when the price was inside the Kumo. Like I wouldn't have traded here if I was not so aggressive to trade the bullish crossover or the TK crossover bullish over here. I would have waited for the break and I would enter at the next retest when I would have the three conditions being met. Green, right? Very thick and green Kumo. I would have the price above the conversion line, above the baseline. And I would long it at a retest, okay? Now, when we already lose the conversion line, it means that we have some type of weakness, and you can long it again, for example, when the conversion line went back above the baseline. As you can see, again, you have the three ticks for a bullish trend. What do you have? The price above the Kumo, thick and green Kumo, the price above the conversion line, the price above the baseline, you already have a bullish trend, okay? My favorite type for Ichimoku is on higher time frames, and those trends are the way they develop, and those are the most EV for longer period of times, right? Because, for example, on euro dollar, you could have started, look, you could have started from here. So the euro dollar trend since the 8th of November until we had the bullish crossover until the 5th of, until the 8th of November 2021, until 28th of November 2022. So for almost 1 year, this was bullish. Sorry, this was bearish, okay? And you have full confirmation from here. Look, TK crossover from here, no trend here, you don't trade it here. When the price exits on weekly from the Kumo and already prints a very nice thick, on weekly is harder to be thicker, okay? But already the Kumo prints red, the price is under the conversion line, the price is under the baseline. You add, if you want, the lagging span, and when the lagging span is also going out of the Kumo, there is your last confirmation. You speak and you look for what we were speaking about, right? The lagging span of the baseline. The lagging span is under the baseline, so this is very bearish trend. And after that, if you don't want your eyes to be hurt, you just look at this conversion line with the baseline. You go on daily when I said. So from here, you just make yourself a note. We just broke above, we broke under, sorry. You go on daily, and since the 8th, you could have started from here. Let's see how much pips you would have had if you would have followed this this strategy from weekly, right? So what was the price on here? Let's say you would have caught at 1.14, okay? Since from 1.14 until It was December 2022, right? That was on weekly, but on daily, this is how you refine your strategy. On daily, already from here, you don't short anymore because this looks like bottoming, okay? You have the daily crossover here. And after you have the daily crossover, you can also see that the trend is also changing. This is a beautiful example how this is a resistance. If you remember, we were talking about resistances, right? So the resistance, the weakest resistance is the conversion line. And you can see a lot of times it can be invalidated. And after that is the baseline. But look here, besides the conversion line and the baseline, you also have the first part of the Kumo. So this was the resistance. Look, rejected, 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 rejected. Even here, it went, although we had the bullish crossover, right? And what do we have? We had the price which flipped the conversion line and the baseline. They were flipped, but they were the first resistances. It pierced also the first support of the first resistance of the Kumo, but it rejected from the second one, exactly from the second one. So what you have to do is to watch on weekly, like I said. So you watch higher time frames analysis. You go on higher time frames. You see when you have the full trend change. For example, from here we had the full trend change. But if you want to enter from here, I would be cautious and I would enter a little bit smaller shorts because I don't have the Kumo still piercing the price to the lower side. Sorry, here. From here, you have the TK crossover, but from here, I would still short it, but I want to see the price going lower. And when the price going lower, here you can short with very nice size, of course, with supports and resistance and price action. But at every of these ones, you understand that this is a counter trend move, okay? Because the bigger trend was still bearish. When we have the crossover, you can stop. After that, you can go on daily, and you can see other type of formations, okay? For now, for example, on weekly, where do we are? Higher time frames from weekly, we just flipped the trend. Here, if you ask me, the bullish trend is not so strong like it was before. We are also not so far from the Kumo, so we are not so bullish like we were here. But we still have confirmation. So on weekly, I don't like this. So if I would open longs on euro dollar, I would keep in mind that the width of the Kumo, it's almost non-existent. So I think I would rather wait for the Kumo to turn again green and to be a bit thicker to have confirmation from higher time frames. If I go on daily, keeping this in mind, I remind myself that the weekly Kumo is just barely starting to be green right now. And although it's starting to be green right now, I'm not going to open the same size because I don't have the same type of confirmation like I had before, like in the other periods of time. Okay. And I watch on higher time frames, and let's see. Let's see what would be the next steps in order to also open some trades based on these ones. Okay. After we analyze on the higher time frame, so after we looked on weekly, after we looked on daily, I have to see those three things. Christy says on EXU, both conversions and baseline are above the price. The price also pierced the leading span A. Leading span A. Okay, the cloud is green and the price is inside it. Does that mean that it could lead to a trend change? Let's finish this part, and after that, I'm going to move to some of the assets that you guys want to analyze. Okay, so after we go from, I'm going to come back to your question, Christy. We have to analyze, and we have to have the three key elements that we spoke about. The price is above the Kumo, it is above the Kumo. Price position versus the baseline, the price is above the baseline. The Kumo color is green. If all of these are met, most likely we're going to have a trend continuation. So after this, I will stop with the top-down analysis so we can see. No problem, Christy, I'll check after. So we can see if Ichimoku is very efficient. I think that for trading at least, but also for trend following, I think the most efficient one, after I see that the trend is still also valid on weekly, I would follow it on daily. For example, we trade on the direction of the dominant trend. If you want to trade on 1 hour, I would do my analysis on daily and I would drop on 4 hours and I would check after I check the daily chart. So on daily looks good. I still want to see the price above the conversion line. After that, I go on 4 hours. On 4 hours, look what do I have. On 4 hours, unfortunately, although on daily I have a bullish trend, on 4 hours, this tells me just I have to wait. There is no trend here. Yes, I have. Do I have the crossover? Yeah. No, there is no crossover here. The conversion line was still above this one. So I would not trade here. I would not trade euro dollar here. I would not take a trade on euro dollar here. What would I do? Because I'm on 4 hours, I will still need this to flip bullish like this, meaning I want to see the price above some important area. I think it's 1.03 area, if I remember correctly. So when I'm going to see the price above 1.03, yeah, somewhere like this, most likely the trend is also going to be bullish. Most likely I'm going to see this here, and I'm going to have also the conversion line and also the baseline going above this. So on 4 hours, on daily, it was looking good. On 4 hours, not looking good. So most likely I don't open the trade, but still I go on 1 hour. And 1 hour is very, very mixed. Like very, very mixed. Okay, so I have no edge here. I knew almost 100, almost certainly just by looking from daily, it was looking good. But as you can see, the conversion line is still above the price. So when the price is going to go above the conversion line, most likely it's going to be around 1.03 area. On 4 hours, we're also going to flip. On 4 hours, we're also going to flip the trend, most likely. We're also going to see that turning bullish, and we're going to go on 1 hour. And at that point in time, when we're going to have that, this is when I'm going to pull the trigger. But until then, I don't have confirmation, and I don't have a clear trend form on 4 hours and also 1 hour in order for me to pull the trigger. Okay, if I start from daily. You said on daily time frame. I'll go back to that. Let's just finish and just wrap it up with Ichimoku. Okay, daily. Let me see if there is something else that I need to speak about this. Okay. So that was the last part. And I wrote down some questions from Tornado. He was asking the last time when we spoke deeply about Ichimoku, it will help to understand the two lines, the red and the blue, and what do they show. So we spoke about this. And how does the cloud predict the price change? We just spoke about this, that we need a breakout and we need a thick green cloud for bullish and a thick red cloud for bearish trends, okay? It's better to start from price action and continue in the details which help, like using Ichimoku on retracement, supply and demand zone, liquid zones. I think the best thing that you can do is to start from higher time frames with your support and resistances, and on top of that, you can overlay Ichimoku. And after that, you can drop. If you want to have an entry on 1 hour, you go from daily, you go from 4 hours. And if on daily, you have those three elements that we just spoke about, price above the Kumo, above the baseline, above the conversion line, and the Kumo color is green, you can go on 4 hours. The same elements, if the same elements apply, you do the same thing, you go on 1 hour. If the same elements apply, then you pull the trigger based on those levels that we just talked about. Okay, so I don't have anything else here from what you guys asked the last time. Let me see if there were some other questions. Okay, in the meantime, I'm just gonna go to XAU USD, and we're gonna start actually on daily. I have some annotations here. It's gonna be a little bit harder. It's gonna be harder for the eyes. Let's start on weekly with euro dollar. Sorry, with XAU USD. We're gonna remove the drawings, and we're gonna apply Ichimoku. How does this look right now, based on what we just spoke about? The trend which is forming right now, the Kumo which is forming right now, yes, this Kumo is still green, but it's not as green as it was here, right? So when we broke above this, we retested it, and here the price was above the Kumo, was above the conversion line, and it was above the baseline. If I look at this, it means that most likely the price is going to go to the baseline. So we're going to see the price going a bit lower, okay? I go on daily, and if I look on daily, what do I see? I see that the trend is not so strong anymore. The price of gold is under the baseline, is under the conversion line. It also lost the first support, right? So it was the flat top. So right now, if you ask me, I would not trade this. For sure, I would not long this. Okay, on 4 hours, this already confirms what we saw on weekly, that most likely the price is going to go to the baseline, which acts okay, one more recap. When we were speaking about the baseline, remember that I said that one of the conditions is the distance between the price and the baseline. And if the price is too far from the baseline, especially on higher time frames, the baseline is going to flatten out, and it's gonna act as a magnet. You can even put a magnet to it. Regardless, my mind is, I think I spoke too much without drinking some water. The baseline, as you can see, this went parabolic on the baseline. The price was so far on weekly from this. So how much was this in percentage? This was, here it was 8% for gold. This is a lot, and here it was almost 6%. And the price flattens out. Sorry, the baseline flattens out and is gonna act as a magnet. Okay. And most likely we will see the baseline also going a bit higher, and also the price of gold to meet the baseline. Okay, good. Now, from weekly, we went on daily, and we can see that the price is not bullish anymore, and we can see that the width, right? As you can see here, the thickness of the trend was quite, the thickness of the Kumo was quite big. However, now the thickness is not so big, and the price went under the first support, which was the conversion line, also under the baseline, and now it's also losing the flat top, so the first resistance from the first support from the Kumo, the top side of the Kumo. Because it's inside the Kumo, I would not short it, I would not long it. For me, already in the Kumo, it's in decision. And now what you can do, starting from the first analysis, which we had, you can add your support and resistances. And what does this show? Like we were speaking for some time, if you remember my short, which also got into stop loss because of this move, I said that most likely it's going to print a higher low. So if you add Ichimoku now here, let's see how it's going to react up until here, to up until 1,980, which correlates with this low. If the price goes here without a bounce, and we're going to see a conversion, we're going to see a TK crossover. So we're going to see the baseline dropping from this, and we're going to see the conversion line going underneath it, and the price doing something like this. Most likely that's going to be the end of this trend. Okay. Until then, I'm not going to do anything. Where would I long it? For example, on daily. On daily, I want to see a bounce from here and the price going above the Kumo, going above the conversion line, going above the baseline. And at that point in time, at the retrace, I will also long it. I will not long it here, because right now already starts to look weak. I think we can print that higher low, and inside the Kumo there is no direction. And you saw we went on 4 hours. We don't have, and actually on 4 hours it looks bearish, right? And on 1 hour you don't have any direction. It might be bearish on 1 hour, but I would not, based on higher time frame analysis, this already inside the Kumo, it's indecision. I would say it's indecision. I would rather short it when it's looking like this than short it here on smaller time frames. Okay, I'll look for other ones. Although on 4 hours, if you ask me, it looks bearish. We had the TK crossover here. Okay, we had the price going under the Kumo. The price is under, but here, keep in mind the higher time frame, which is still bullish. That's why, let's say you would do an exception and you would short here. I would short with smaller size because of the higher time frame trend, and I would short it somewhere around this area with a stop loss somewhere like this. So if the price again comes back to this, but this was a good short, you see, because the price was already under under the Kumo, the price was under the conversion line, the price was under the baseline. So when we touch this here, you could have shorted, and this would have been a very good short. Okay, somewhere around this area, the stop loss, and your take profit could have been even 2, and you're already out of the market. After that, you can apply the things that we just spoke. You remove the conversion line and you see if the Chikun's span is under, so the lagging span is under the baseline. The lagging span is under the baseline, so this is also bearish. It's another bearish sign. Okay, you remove the lagging span, you had the TK crossover here, you had the price going under, you have the red Kumo, it's also very thick. It means that most likely this is a bearish trend, and at all these kind of bounces you can short it. But if I short it, please keep in mind that on daily this is still a bearish, this is still bullish trend, and even if we go lower at any point in time, we can have this. So imagine I got caught up in this. So I got caught up in this price action. Okay, so I was out. If you remember, I shorted because I thought that we're gonna go lower. I didn't apply Ichimoku on that one. I just wanted to see another higher low printed, but unfortunately, I was caught up in this. And I got the stop loss and I'm out. Okay, you shorted a little lower. Okay, This is how they approach Ichimoku up until here. Shifters, questions? If you have questions about this, about Ichimoku in general. Oof, it's almost 1 hour since we started, huh? I know it's a lot to take in. What I'm gonna do, I also took some notes, okay? I took some notes and I will write these notes. I'll write these notes in a thread just for us in Paradigm, okay? I'm gonna put the video there in that thread and you're gonna have those notes there. Of course, you have to watch this again, but I think that if you watch the video again, and if you pay attention to the key important parts of this, and if you also watch what I wrote in that what I'm going to write in that thread and start to apply what I'm writing in that thread over and over and over again, you will see that after some time, of course it takes repetition, but if there was something that I want you guys to be left with, and of course, and also ladies, what I want you to all to be left with after this is that the most powerful thing about Ichimoku, that's why I think it's called the king of indicators, is that it can help you show the exhaustion of buyers or sellers. So you can see on weekly and daily, on weekly you go first, and after that on daily, when the trend starts to weaken. And after that, when we have the flip, for example, you see on weekly that the trend already starts to go to the Kumo, and we have the break, and you also go down, you go on top down analysis, you go on daily, and you see that you also have the crossover, and you already start to form a trend. You can understand that we are moving higher or we are moving lower, right? So the best thing that I think the most powerful thing that Ichimoku can do, it can give you trend reversals and it can give you higher time frame trends, which you can follow for a longer period of time, right? And after that, if we were speaking about trading, another thing, by the way, before arriving to trading, like I just showed you on Ichimoku, I think it can be a very interesting tool. And actually, I'm going to use it quite a lot this bull run, a very interesting tool to not chase coins that I want to add and already ran, because I'm going to go on weekly. I'm going to see how they look. I'm going to look at the baseline. I'm going to go on daily. And most likely, if they're too far from the baseline, like we just watched now on Injective, if they're too far from the baseline, I'm just going to wait them to touch the baseline. If they're still going to be bullish on weekly and daily with the other mentions, and of course with Bitcoin and all the other elements, I'm going to add this safely to my long-term holding. Okay.